The subconscious mind is constantly shaping the choices you make and the way you remember. Let's begin with precision and calm. The term subconscious is popular in everyday language, but modern psychology often prefers more specific terms like unconscious or non-conscious to describe mental activity that occurs outside awareness. The APA Dictionary of Psychology defines subconscious as pertaining to mental processes occurring below the threshold of conscious awareness. An unconscious process is a mental process that occurs without explicit awareness or conscious attention. Non-conscious processes can influence your feelings and behaviors even when you have no access to the processing itself through introspection. If you find value in science for sleep, please subscribe. Your brain receives vastly more information than your conscious mind can handle. Conscious awareness is remarkably limited, which is why the brain relies on automatic processing to manage most incoming signals. Perception is not like a camera passively recording the world. Instead, perception is an active construction where your brain makes predictions about what it expects to perceive and then updates those predictions based on sensory evidence. That predictive strategy is efficient, but it can also create systematic errors and illusions. Visual illusions are proof that your brain's best guess can override or reshape raw sensory input. When you see an optical illusion, you are experiencing how deeply prediction shapes perception. A subconscious influence often refers to this kind of prior knowledge silently shaping what you experience. Your expectations, learned over years, prepare you to see certain patterns and miss others. Priming is one of the most well-documented effects in cognitive psychology. Priming is the phenomenon in which exposure to one stimulus influences how quickly or accurately you respond to a later stimulus. Priming can change your performance on a task without any intentional effort to remember. For example, after reading words related to old, people walk more slowly when they leave the experiment, even though no one mentioned walking. This is priming, and it happens without awareness. Semantic priming shows that meaning-based associations in your memory can speed up recognition. If you see the word doctor, the word nurse becomes easier to recognize because the two concepts are linked in meaning. Because priming can occur without the feeling of remembering anything, it is often studied as a form of implicit memory. A key distinction in cognitive science separates explicit memory from implicit memory. Explicit memory typically involves conscious remembering of events or facts. When you recall your birthday or a conversation from yesterday, you are using explicit memory. Implicit memory influences your behavior or performance without requiring conscious recollection. The PNAS paper titled Redefining Implicit and Explicit Memory emphasizes that memory is best defined by how it is expressed, not just by how it feels subjectively. You can sometimes learn a pattern or skill without being able to explain the rule you have learned. This separation between behavior and explanation is one reason people intuitively believe in a subconscious mind. Skill learning is one of the clearest demonstrations of this principle. When you first learn to tie your shoes or ride a bike, you are conscious of many steps. Over practice, the skill becomes automatic. Eventually, you can execute the skill while thinking about something else entirely. This is not magic. It is the result of repeated experience reshaping neural pathways. Procedural memory supports these learned skills. Procedural memory is the memory system underlying motor skills and habits. You access procedural memory every time you type, drive, or play a musical instrument without conscious attention to each movement. Procedural memory is partly separate from systems that support conscious recollection. Someone with amnesia might forget their life story but still retain motor skills learned before the injury. This dissociation demonstrates that memory is not a single unified system. Habit learning is another pathway through which behavior can become automatic and cue-driven. A habit is often triggered by a context cue rather than by conscious deliberation. A cue might be a place, a time of day, a specific sound, or a sequence of preceding actions. When you arrive at your home, familiar cues trigger a habit of putting down your keys in a certain spot, even though you did not consciously plan to do so. Your brain uses contextual information to retrieve a learned pattern of behavior. In many experiments, people underestimate how strongly context and cues shape routine choices. You may feel as though you are making deliberate decisions when, in fact, you are following patterns triggered by the environment. This is not a deficiency, it is an elegant solution. Automatic behavior frees conscious attention for novel problems. Yet recognizing this pattern can also help explain why certain habits feel hard to change. They are triggered by context, not just by conscious intention. Attention is not a single, undivided phenomenon. Attention includes alertness, selective focus, and sustained concentration over time. Selective attention allows you to filter information and focus on one conversation in a noisy room. Inattentional blindness is the phenomenon in which you fail to notice an unexpected object or event when your attention is directed elsewhere. There is a famous experiment in which viewers watch a video of people passing a basketball and are asked to count passes. A person in a gorilla suit walks across the scene, yet many viewers do not see the gorilla. This is not because the eyes failed. It is because attention was directed elsewhere. Change blindness is another striking effect. In change blindness experiments, people fail to notice large changes in a visual scene, such as a person's clothing or the position of a building. These effects show that awareness depends critically on attention, not just on sensory input. Some processing of unattended information can still occur, but it is typically reduced and does not reach conscious awareness. Your brain continues to process the environment even when you are not consciously attending to it. Do you find yourself wondering whether subtle cues influence your decisions more than you realize? This question touches on a deep tension in psychology and philosophy. Unconscious perception is a genuinely contested topic because awareness is difficult to measure precisely. Researchers attempt to separate truly unperceived stimuli from stimuli that are weakly perceived and then quickly forgotten. Even so, many well-controlled experiments agree that not every step of mental processing requires conscious awareness. Your brain can categorize a visual stimulus faster than you can describe it. Reaction time experiments reveal that meaning can influence responses within fractions of a second. Those rapid influences can occur before a person can articulate why they responded the way they did. Decision-making often begins as a competition between multiple alternatives in your brain. People typically experience the final choice as a clean moment of decision, but the build-up to that moment can be gradual and distributed across multiple processes. The feeling of certainty can sometimes be generated after your brain has already leaned toward one option. Confabulation is the generation of a plausible explanation when the true causes are not accessible to consciousness. Confabulation is not the same as lying. It is the sincere generation of a reason that feels accurate. In everyday life, this can appear as strong convictions about why you prefer certain things, when in fact those preferences formed quietly over time through repeated exposure or implicit learning. A simple but robust effect is mere exposure. Mere exposure is the increase in liking that results from repeated familiarity with a stimulus. You can grow to like a song simply because you have heard it many times, without any conscious reasoning. Mere exposure effects are typically modest in size, but they are reliably found in many domains. The effect shows that preferences can shift without a clear verbal storyline or logical justification. Your emotional system can tag experiences with value signals that guide later attention and choice. Those value signals can operate without a clear verbal label for why something feels important. This does not mean that emotions are irrational. It means that emotions can be fast and partly opaque to introspection. The brain uses a process called reward prediction error to adjust expectations. Reward prediction error is the difference between an outcome and what you expected. When reality differs from your prediction, your brain updates the prediction. Over time, these small adjustments can change preferences, habits, and emotional responses without a single dramatic moment of realization. Language processing includes many automatic steps that you do not consciously choose. You do not decide how to parse each syllable or which definition to assign to an ambiguous word. Yet comprehension feels effortless. Readers can often predict upcoming words from context before those words arrive on the page. This predictive ability supports fluency, but it can also cause misreadings. You might read "there" when the text says "there," because the predicted word fits the context. The tip of the tongue phenomenon reveals that information can be partially accessible without full conscious retrieval. In this state, you may recall a first letter, the number of syllables, or the rhythm of a word while the whole word remains out of reach. Memory retrieval is not an all-or-nothing switch. It is a reconstruction guided by cues and context. A cue can narrow the search space in your memory until a specific memory becomes consciously available. This gradual cueing process is one reason subconscious has come to feel like a waiting room from which thoughts emerge into consciousness. Working memory is the small mental workspace used to hold information for brief periods. Working memory capacity is severely limited. Most people can hold only a few items in mind at once. Because working memory is so limited, the brain relies on long-term patterns and automatic processes to fill gaps and support ongoing thought. Experts in a domain often appear to have intuitive insight because they have internalized many patterns and can recognize situations at a glance. This pattern-based expertise can feel like a hunch that arrives fully formed. The hunch is a conscious endpoint of extensive non-conscious processing. A chess master glances at a board and sees the best move without consciously calculating variations. A radiologist scans an X-ray and recognizes abnormalities instantly. In many domains, what feels like intuition is the conscious product of vast implicit knowledge. Implicit learning is the ability to learn without conscious awareness of what has been learned. Implicit learning can occur for sequences, probabilities, and structured patterns. When implicit learning is strong, it can guide choices and performance even when a person cannot articulate the rule or pattern that was learned. You might learn to use proper grammar in a language without being able to state the grammatical rules. Your brain has abstracted the pattern, but the knowledge remains non-conscious. The brain's motor system can prepare actions using predictive models of the body and environment. Some preparatory motor activity can precede the subjective feeling of deciding to act. This timing has been interpreted in different ways by researchers, but it is consistent with the idea that decision processes have layers. Some processing happens before a decision enters consciousness. This does not erase free will or agency. It shows that deliberation is more complex than a simple conscious choice followed by action. Self-control is not only a matter of willpower. Self-control also depends on habits, cues, and the automatic defaults that have been built into your life. Changing defaults can change behavior even when conscious intentions remain steady. For example, if fruit is placed at eye level in a cafeteria, people eat more fruit, even if they still intend to eat healthily. That fact is sometimes used in policy design, though ethical questions apply. Non-conscious influence can be a tool for helping people or for manipulation. Ethics matter because people deserve to understand when their choices are being influenced. Subliminal messaging is often exaggerated in popular culture and science fiction. When subliminal priming effects do appear in controlled studies, they are usually small and depend strongly on context and how performance is measured. The most dramatic claims about controlling people through subliminal cues are not supported by mainstream scientific evidence. Subliminal effects exist but are far more limited than pop culture suggests. The brain's default mode network becomes active during internally focused thought, such as mind-wandering or daydreaming. Mind-wandering can feel spontaneous or random, but it often reflects your current goals and concerns. If you are worried about an upcoming conversation, your mind may return to that conversation repeatedly. People vary widely in how frequently they notice mind-wandering. The ability to notice mind-wandering is a skill called meta-awareness. Meta-awareness is the capacity to become aware of what the mind is doing while it is doing it. Noticing a thought and generating a thought are different operations. This distinction helps explain why thoughts can sometimes appear without being deliberately summoned. You might suddenly notice a memory or idea that seems to arise on its own. In fact, that idea was being processed in the background, and you simply became aware of it. Sleep changes how the brain processes and stabilizes memories. Sleep is thought to support memory consolidation, though the precise mechanisms are still being researched. Different sleep stages may contribute differently to different types of learning and memory. Some evidence suggests that non-REM sleep supports declarative memory consolidation, while REM sleep may support procedural and emotional memory. However, the boundaries between these stages are not absolute, and findings continue to evolve. The Sleep Foundation and other sleep research organizations describe sleep as intimately linked to memory processing and learning in multiple ways. During sleep, the brain is not shut down. It continues to show organized patterns of electrical and chemical activity. Dreams can be vivid and emotionally intense, yet dreaming is not the same thing as the whole unconscious mind. The content of dreams is not a guaranteed code or key to hidden truths. Dreams can reflect memory fragments, emotional associations, and neural noise without a single fixed meaning. In science, a good principle is to separate what feels meaningful from what can be experimentally tested and verified. That separation keeps inquiry grounded while still leaving the topic genuinely fascinating. Some of the most useful subconscious effects are simply efficiency features of the brain. Automatic processing allows you to understand speech, walk, and navigate your environment without narrating every step to yourself. Imagine if you had to consciously think through each muscle movement required to walk. You could not think about anything else. Instead, those processes are automatic, freeing conscious attention for planning and problem-solving. Your sense of a unified self is partly constructed from many small processes that operate outside awareness. The feeling of continuity and identity can persist even as specific thoughts and perceptions come and go moment by moment. In cognitive science, awareness is often conceptualized as a limited interface rather than the whole mental engine. That interface can still be precious because it supports planning, reasoning about the future, and flexible response to novel situations. Many errors in judgment come from applying mental shortcuts called heuristics in contexts where they do not work well. A heuristic is a shortcut that is often useful and fast, even if it sometimes leads to mistakes. The anchoring effect is a heuristic. You rely on the first number you encounter to judge a value. The availability heuristic is the tendency to think something is more common if examples come easily to mind. When a heuristic leads you astray, it can feel afterward as though you fell prey to a subconscious bias. Biases are not always moral failures. They often represent design trade-offs in the brain. The brain is optimized for speed and survival, not for perfect logical reasoning. Yet humans can learn to improve their reasoning by changing their environments, building better habits, and receiving specific training. Even that learning often starts with small automatic adjustments before conscious strategy is applied. How do you think about the balance between understanding your choices and accepting that many processes must remain out of reach? This is a question that each person answers differently. Some people find it freeing to acknowledge limits on conscious control. Others find it unsettling. Both reactions are understandable. In the next movement of this exploration, the focus shifts to memory in more specific detail and to everyday experiments you can notice. Encoding is the initial process of laying down a memory. Information must be encoded into the brain's storage system before it can be remembered. Encoding is often automatic, but attention and intention can enhance it. Information that is relevant to your goals or interests is typically encoded more strongly. Encoding into long-term memory often requires meaning to be extracted from information. This is why you remember the meaning of a sentence more reliably than its exact wording. Retrieval is the process of accessing stored information. Retrieval is not always successful, even for information that was well encoded. Retrieval depends on the presence of appropriate cues and on the context at the time of retrieval. The context at retrieval can either match or mismatch the context during encoding. If encoding and retrieval contexts match, retrieval is typically easier. This is why studying in the same room where you will take a test can slightly improve performance. Forgetting is often an efficient process rather than a failure. Forgetting helps ensure that you do not carry irrelevant details forever. Ebbinghaus discovered that forgetting follows a predictable curve. You forget most rapidly immediately after learning, then more slowly. However, you can reduce forgetting by reviewing material. Each review slows the rate of forgetting. Over multiple reviews, the rate of forgetting slows more and more, until information may be retained indefinitely. Schemas are organized frameworks of knowledge about categories or situations. A schema for a restaurant includes expectations about tables, menus, servers, and payment. When you encounter a new restaurant, your schema helps you navigate it quickly. Schemas make perception and memory efficient, but they can also bias how you remember events. People tend to remember information that fits their schema and may forget or misremember information that violates it. False memories are memories of events that did not happen, or distorted memories of events that did happen differently than recalled. False memories can be created through suggestion, through repeated imagination, or through the integration of outside information into a memory trace. A person can be entirely confident in a false memory. Confidence does not always predict accuracy. This discovery has important implications for eyewitness testimony and legal proceedings. Flashbulb memories are vivid, detailed memories of surprising or significant events. People often remember exactly where they were when they heard important news. Yet research shows that flashbulb memories are not immune to distortion and forgetting, despite the sense of clarity and detail. The subjective experience of a flashbulb memory is not a perfect indicator of accuracy. Spacing and interleaving are principles of effective learning. Spacing is distributing study over time rather than cramming all at once. Interleaving is mixing different topics or types of problems during study rather than blocking them. Both spacing and interleaving improve long-term retention, although they can feel less fluent during the learning phase. For this reason, people often misjudge which study methods are most effective. Elaboration is connecting new information to existing knowledge. The more connections you make, the more retrieval cues will activate that memory. Elaboration is often more effective than simple repetition. Explaining why something is true or how it relates to your own experience strengthens memory. This is one reason teaching something to someone else is an excellent way to learn it yourself. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. Metacognitive awareness includes noticing what you know and do not know, and evaluating your own understanding. Metacognitive judgments are often inaccurate. You might feel confident that you understand material when you do not, or vice versa. Illusions of competence can arise when information feels familiar because you have read about it, but you cannot actually recall or apply it. Testing yourself is a more reliable indicator of what you actually know. Perception of time varies based on attention and emotion. When you are engaged and focused, time seems to pass quickly. When you are bored or waiting, time seems to drag. This subjective time does not match clock time. The brain appears to construct a sense of duration based on factors including attention, memory encoding, and emotional state. Very fast events are sometimes experienced as lasting longer than they actually do, possibly because they receive extra attentional processing. Attention residue occurs when your attention remains partially focused on a previous task even after you have switched to a new task. Attention residue reduces performance on the new task. Switching tasks frequently creates more residue, which is why deep focus on one task is often more efficient than rapid task switching. This is one reason that people who minimize distractions often accomplish more than they expect. Cognitive load refers to the amount of mental effort being used. Working memory has a limited capacity, so excessive cognitive load impairs performance. Complex tasks can be made more manageable by reducing extraneous cognitive load, information not needed for the task. while maintaining necessary load, information essential for learning. This principle is used in instructional design to improve learning. Reducing unnecessary difficulty helps learners focus on what matters. Transfer of learning is the ability to apply knowledge or skills learned in one context to a different context. Transfer is often limited. Learning facts in a classroom does not automatically transfer to using that knowledge in real-world problems. However, training that emphasizes principles, examples, and varied contexts can enhance transfer. Deep understanding promotes better transfer than surface memorization. Motivation influences both encoding and retrieval. Information related to goals is encoded more efficiently. Goals also direct retrieval by making certain memories more accessible. However, motivation can also bias memory and perception. You may be more likely to remember evidence supporting your beliefs than evidence that contradicts them. This is called confirmation bias and is an example of how motivational factors shape cognition. Attention and emotion interact in memory. Emotionally significant events are often remembered well. However, extreme emotion can also impair memory for details. A phenomenon called weapon focus occurs in eyewitness situations. People remember the weapon vividly but have poor memory for the perpetrator's face. Emotion captures attention, so when something is very emotionally arousing, other details are often missed. The serial position effect is the tendency to remember the first and last items in a list better than middle items. The first items benefit from better encoding and less interference. The last items benefit from being in working memory during recall. This effect is a window into how different memory systems operate. Chunking is the process of grouping separate pieces of information into larger, meaningful units. A phone number is easier to remember if you group the digits into chunks like 5551234 rather than remembering each digit individually. Experts in domains like chess or music chunk information within their domain. A chess master can remember the positions of many pieces from a glance because the positions chunk into meaningful patterns. Dual coding refers to representing information both verbally and visually. Information that is coded in multiple forms is often remembered better. This is one reason that illustrated textbooks can be more effective than text alone. The combination provides more retrieval cues. Have you noticed that your own memory for events sometimes shifts over time as you think about them and discuss them? This is not unusual and reflects how memory is reconstructive rather than reproductive. The brain does not store experiences like video recordings. It stores elements and later reconstructs them using schemas and cues. Each reconstruction can slightly modify the memory, sometimes without your awareness. Reconsolidation is the process by which recalled memories become labeled and can be modified before being stored again. This means that retrieving a memory and then adding new information can change the memory itself. This process is potentially useful for treating traumatic memories, though clinical applications are still being developed and studied carefully. Consolidation takes time. Memories are not immediately permanent after a single encoding. Instead, memories become gradually more resistant to interference through processes of consolidation. Sleep appears to play a role in consolidation for many types of memory. This is one reason that learning is often improved by sleeping after studying. Stress can enhance memory for the gist of an event but impair memory for details. In stressful situations, Attention narrows to focus on the most important elements. This is adaptive in a crisis, but it can result in poor memory for specific features or words used. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline modulate memory formation, so stress and memory are chemically linked. Aging affects memory in complex ways. Older adults typically show declines in working memory and in recall from long-term memory. However, recognition memory is relatively preserved. Semantic memory and knowledge accumulated over a lifetime often remain stable or even improve with age. Crystallized intelligence, which reflects accumulated knowledge, can increase with age, while fluid intelligence, which reflects processing speed and working memory, typically declines. Individual differences in memory are substantial. Some people have naturally strong memory for faces, others for words or music. Some people are more likely to have vivid visual memories, others more likely to remember information in words or concepts. Expertise in a domain can dramatically enhance memory for information in that domain. A musician may have an exceptional memory for musical patterns, while someone without musical training has much poorer memory for the same patterns. Memory aids like mnemonics can improve memory performance. The method of loci is an ancient technique in which you mentally place items to be remembered in specific locations along a familiar route. When you retrieve the information, you mentally walk the route and collect the items. This technique works by using spatial memory, which is often quite strong. Mnemonics work by converting information into a form that is easier to encode and retrieve using existing memory strengths. The testing effect is the finding that retrieving information through testing improves retention more than restudying. Even a single retrieval practice can enhance memory. The more challenging the retrieval, the larger the benefit. However, a retrieval attempt that fails does not enhance memory. In fact, unsuccessful retrieval attempts can sometimes interfere with future learning. Spacing retrieval attempts over time enhances the benefit. Emotional memory is sometimes enhanced but not always. Emotional events often produce vivid memories, but the memory is not necessarily accurate. Emotional arousal can trigger the release of stress hormones that enhance encoding. However, emotional events can also narrow attention, leading to the weapon focus effect mentioned earlier. Additionally, emotional memories can be particularly susceptible to distortion through suggestion and imagination. Trauma and memory is a complex area where emotion plays a central role. Traumatic memories are sometimes reported as fragmented or difficult to verbalize. However, traumatic memories are not necessarily more accurate than ordinary memories. Trauma can affect memory in multiple ways, some of which result in better encoding and some in distorted memory. The assumption that traumatic memories are always perfectly preserved is not supported by research. Recovered memories remain controversial. Some people report recovered memories of traumatic events that they did not remember for years. These memories can feel absolutely real and be associated with strong emotion. However, the reliability of recovered memories is questionable because memories can be influenced by suggestion, imagination, and leading questions. Psychologists are cautious about recovered memories, especially when recovered through suggestive techniques like hypnosis or guided imagery. The unconscious processing of grammar and syntax occurs as you read or listen to language. You do not consciously parse syntactic trees, yet you somehow extract meaning from complex sentences. When a sentence is syntactically ambiguous, your brain typically settles on one interpretation first, which is why temporarily ambiguous sentences can seem strange or funny. "The horse raced past the barn fell" is difficult to parse because the initial parse is incomplete. Bilingualism appears to enhance cognitive flexibility. Bilingual people must constantly suppress one language while using another, which may enhance executive control. Research suggests that bilingualism can delay cognitive decline in aging, though not all studies agree. Learning a language throughout life continues to engage the brain and may support cognitive health. Semantic networks are mental representations of how concepts relate to one another. Concepts that are related are closer together in semantic networks. This organization is why thinking of one word can prime the retrieval of related words. Semantic networks appear to organize concepts by features and relationships, creating a web of associations that supports both understanding and retrieval. Categorization is the process of grouping different items together based on shared properties. Categorization is not always based on strict logical rules. Often categories have fuzzy boundaries, with some members being more typical than others. A robin is more typical of the category bird than an ostrich or a penguin. This typicality gradient reflects how categories are used in the mind, not just logical definitions. Concepts can be understood through metaphor and analogy. Understanding one domain by mapping it onto another domain, which is more familiar, is metaphorical understanding. Analogies reveal deep structural similarities between different domains. This use of analogy and metaphor in thought suggests that understanding is not purely abstract but is grounded in familiar experiences and physical embodiment. The embodied cognition perspective suggests that cognition is rooted in the body and bodily experience. According to this view, even abstract thought relies on metaphors grounded in bodily experience. The word understand comes from the idea of grasping, which is a physical action. Following an argument relates to the physical act of following a path. This suggests that even abstract thinking may rely on simulation of bodily experience. Abstract thought does not erase the role of unconscious processing. Even when consciously reasoning about abstract concepts, unconscious processes are at work. Intuitive judgments often precede conscious reasoning. Sometimes your intuition is right, and your conscious reasoning just catches up. Other times intuition leads you astray. Developing expertise seems to improve intuition because experts have better unconscious models based on extensive experience. Innovation and creativity often involve unconscious processing. Many creative breakthroughs occur after a period of conscious work followed by rest or sleep. During the rest period, unconscious processing may continue, leading to a sudden insight when the solution emerges into consciousness. This is not magic, but the result of persistent background processing in the brain. The time and rest allow the brain to explore possibilities beyond the conscious train of thought. Problem solving involves unconscious processes throughout. When you are stuck on a problem, stepping away and thinking about something else can help. This is not because you are resting. It is because unconscious processing continues. When you return to the problem, your brain may have found a new approach. This phenomenon is sometimes called incubation. Incubation effects are strongest when the problem is complex and when stepping away is followed by engaging in something absorbing but unrelated. Insight is the sudden conscious awareness of a solution or understanding that was not previously available. Insight often feels like the solution appears fully formed. However, the build-up to insight is gradual unconscious processing. Brain imaging studies show that unconscious activity often precedes a moment of insight. The unconscious processing may explore possibilities that the conscious mind did not explicitly consider. Once you have experienced one insight or solution, you may become stuck in that way of thinking, a problem-solving difficulty called functional fixedness. Functional fixedness is the tendency to think of objects only in their conventional uses. If you need a hammer and do not have one, you may not think of using another object as a hammer. Overcoming functional fixedness requires considering alternative uses, which requires conscious exploration or the disruption of habitual thinking patterns. Incubation and insight suggest that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is not to directly attack it but to rest and allow unconscious processing to work. This has practical implications for how to approach learning and problem solving. Taking breaks and sleeping on a problem are not forms of avoidance. They are legitimate parts of the learning process. This understanding can reduce anxiety about problem solving. If you are stuck, resting may be part of the solution. Social perception involves many unconscious processes. You form impressions of other people extremely rapidly, often in less than 1/10 of a second. These rapid impressions are based on features like facial expressions, appearance, and body language. These impressions are not always accurate, but they do influence later interactions and judgments. Once a first impression is formed, it is difficult to change, partly because of confirmation bias. You selectively attend to and remember information that confirms your first impression. Stereotypes are unconscious mental associations between social groups and attributes. Stereotypes can influence perception and behavior even when people explicitly reject the stereotype. The implicit association test measures unconscious stereotypes by examining how quickly people associate concepts. Many people show implicit stereotypes even when they explicitly value equality. This shows that unconscious biases can exist independently of conscious beliefs and values. Stereotyping is not inherent to human nature. Stereotypes are learned through cultural messages and repeated exposure to media representations. Reducing stereotype activation requires conscious effort and the cultivation of alternative associations. Contact between groups can reduce stereotypes when the contact occurs under favorable conditions. Conscious diversity and inclusion efforts can help reshape mental associations over time. Persuasion and influence often work through unconscious processes. Peripheral routes to persuasion involve cues like the attractiveness or expertise of the messenger rather than the logical strength of arguments. Emotional appeals, music, and imagery can persuade without conscious awareness. This is one reason advertising is effective and why people can be persuaded without noticing the persuasive tactics being used. Understanding these processes can help you become a more critical consumer of information. Authority biases lead people to give more weight to the opinions of authority figures. This bias is useful because experts often do know more than novices. However, authority bias can lead to errors when the authority figure is not truly expert in the domain. Expertise is often domain-specific. A Nobel Prize in physics does not make someone an expert in medicine. Conformity is the tendency to adjust your beliefs and behaviors to align with those of a group. Conformity can be automatic and unconscious. In Ash's conformity experiments, people give obviously incorrect answers when group members give those same incorrect answers. Conformity serves a social function, helping groups coordinate and function smoothly. However, conformity can also inhibit truth-telling and innovation. Obedience is the tendency to follow directives from authority figures. Milgram's obedience experiments showed that ordinary people would administer what they believed to be harmful electric shocks when instructed to do so by an experimenter. This result shocked researchers and highlighted the power of authority and situational factors in determining behavior. Obedience is not inherently immoral, but unquestioning obedience to harmful directives is a serious concern. Bystander effect is the tendency for individuals to be less likely to help when other bystanders are present. The presence of others diffuses responsibility, and each bystander may assume someone else will help. The bystander effect shows how unconscious social processes can influence whether people act on their values. Awareness of the bystander effect can help people override it by consciously taking responsibility. Prejudice is a prejudgment, usually negative, about members of a group. Prejudice differs from stereotypes in that it includes an emotional component. Prejudice can be unconscious even when people explicitly reject prejudiced views. Reducing prejudice requires addressing both conscious and unconscious biases. Intergroup contact, cooperation toward shared goals, and education can all contribute to reducing prejudice. Aggression is influenced by both conscious and unconscious factors. Frustration, provocation, and perceived injustice can trigger aggressive impulses that operate partly outside consciousness. Weapons effect describes how the mere presence of a weapon can increase aggressive thoughts and behavior. This suggests that environmental cues can automatically activate aggressive associations in memory. Reducing aggression involves managing both conscious intentions and unconscious associations. Altruism is helpful behavior motivated by concern for others rather than by expectation of reward. Altruism is sometimes described as purely selfish at heart, reflecting the assumption that all behavior is motivated by self-interest. However, people do sometimes behave altruistically even when there is no reward or recognition. The motivation for altruism likely involves both conscious values and unconscious empathetic responses. The capacity to empathize is partly automatic. Merely seeing someone in pain can activate neural systems associated with feeling pain yourself. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the emotional state of another person. Mirror neurons discovered in the monkey brain and hypothesized to exist in humans may support empathy. Mirror neurons fire both when an individual performs an action and when the individual observes another performing the action. This neural mirroring might provide a basis for understanding others' actions and emotions. Empathy is not purely unconscious, but unconscious resonance with others' emotional states plays an important role. Self-awareness is the conscious recognition of oneself as a distinct individual. Self-awareness is not all or nothing. It develops gradually and can vary across situations and time. Young children develop self-awareness gradually over the first years of life. Even adults vary in their current level of self-awareness depending on attention and context. When self-aware, people are often more conscious of social norms and may be more likely to behave in line with their values. Self-serving bias is the tendency to attribute successes to internal factors and failures to external factors. When you succeed, you might think it is because you are capable. When you fail, you might blame the situation. This asymmetry makes sense from a self-esteem perspective. It allows people to maintain positive self-regard. However, it can lead to distorted understanding of what you are actually good at and where you need improvement. Receiving objective feedback can help counteract self-serving bias. The fundamental attribution error is the tendency to overestimate personality factors and underestimate situational factors when explaining others' behavior. When someone is rude, you might assume they have a rude personality rather than considering that they might be having a bad day or responding to something else entirely. This bias is less pronounced for your own behavior, where you more readily consider situational factors. The fundamental attribution error is thought to reflect the different information available about oneself versus others, though it may also reflect unconscious biases in how people process information about social behavior. Self-disclosure is the sharing of personal information with others. Self-disclosure is influenced by numerous factors including trust, reciprocity, and cultural norms. People tend to self-disclose more to people they like and trust. However, excessive self-disclosure early in a relationship can reduce liking. The right amount of self-disclosure seems to enhance relationships, while too little prevents intimacy and too much can be overwhelming. Attraction is influenced by multiple factors. Physical attractiveness is important, but it is not the only factor. Similarity in values and personality predicts compatibility. Proximity or frequent contact increases liking through repeated exposure. Complementarity, where differences between people complement each other, can also enhance attraction. Initial attraction often precedes conscious reasoning. You may feel drawn to someone before you consciously think through the reasons. Love is a complex emotion with multiple components. Psychologist Robert Sternberg proposed that love includes intimacy, passion, and commitment. Different relationships may emphasize different components. Love is not entirely rational, but emotions of love are influenced by unconscious factors including attachment history and personality. Love can motivate extreme behavior, sometimes altruistic and sometimes destructive. Understanding the psychology of love does not diminish the experience. It deepens appreciation for the complex biology and psychology underlying human attachment. Attachment is the emotional bond between a person and caregiver, usually formed early in life. Secure attachment supports exploration and resilience. Insecure attachment can lead to anxiety or avoidance in relationships. Attachment patterns tend to persist into adulthood, influencing relationship behavior. However, attachment is not entirely fixed. New secure relationships can modify attachment patterns. Understanding your attachment style can help you make sense of relationship patterns in your life. The psychology of happiness is an active area of research. Happiness or well-being is influenced by multiple factors including health, relationships, meaningful activity, and meeting basic needs. Adaptation is the tendency to return to baseline happiness after positive or negative events. However, this adaptation is not complete. Positive experiences do contribute to lasting well-being. Intentional activities like expressing gratitude, helping others, or pursuing meaningful goals can enhance well-being. Happiness is not only the absence of negative experience, but the presence of positive experience and meaning. Resilience is the capacity to recover from difficulty and adapt to adversity. Resilience is not something people either have or do not have. It is a quality that develops through experience and support. People who are resilient often have strong social support, a sense of meaning, and problem-solving skills. Resilience can be developed through exposure to challenges, reflection on experience, and connection to others. Building resilience is as important as pursuing happiness. Mindfulness is the practice of present-moment attention without judgment. Mindfulness has been studied in research and is associated with reduced stress, improved emotional regulation, and increased well-being. However, mindfulness is not a panacea. It is one of many practices that can support well-being. Mindfulness can help you notice thoughts and feelings that operate outside immediate awareness, making them available for conscious examination and choice. The practice of mindfulness does not eliminate unconscious processing. Rather, it increases awareness of some aspects of it. The relationship between consciousness and unconscious processing is one of the most fascinating in psychology. You are conscious of only a small portion of your mental life, and that conscious portion is constructed from many unconscious processes. Yet consciousness is not merely illusory or useless. Consciousness allows for planning, reasoning about the future, and coordination with others through language. Consciousness is both limited and powerful. Understanding both the powers and limits of consciousness and recognizing the vast unconscious processing supporting thought and behavior provides a more complete picture of the human mind. This exploration of the subconscious mind has moved from basic principles of non-conscious processing through memory, learning, social psychology, emotion, and well-being. The thread connecting all these topics is the recognition that mental life extends far beyond conscious awareness. Many of the processes that determine your choices, memories, and feelings operate silently. Yet consciousness remains important and powerful. By understanding how unconscious processes work, you can make more informed choices and appreciate the remarkable complexity of your own mind. If you have found this journey through the science of the subconscious mind rewarding, please subscribe for more explorations of how the brain shapes your experience. Sleep well, and dream of the invisible forces that shape the way you think and feel. The world around you is constantly being perceived and interpreted at levels you do not track. Every moment, your sensory receptors send millions of signals to the brain. Your brain immediately filters this information, extracting patterns and meanings. By the time information reaches consciousness, it has already been extensively processed. What feels like direct perception is actually the final stage of a multilayered analysis. Attention acts as a selective gate. It allows certain information through to consciousness while blocking other information from reaching awareness. This filtering is essential because consciousness cannot handle all available information. The selective nature of attention means you are always missing large portions of what is happening around you. Yet you do not feel like you are missing anything because consciousness creates a sense of complete awareness. This sense of completeness is an illusion created by the brain. Inattentional blindness reveals the illusion. In dramatic demonstrations, people fail to notice major visual events happening in plain sight because their attention is directed elsewhere. The phenomenon is not specific to unusual laboratory conditions. In everyday life, people miss important details because attention is elsewhere. Drivers may not see pedestrians or other vehicles when focused on other thoughts. The brain fills in the gaps with assumptions based on habit and expectation. This gap filling is necessary for efficient functioning. If the brain did not make predictions about invisible portions of the visual field, perception would be fragmented and exhausting. Instead, the brain continuously predicts what should be in unseen areas based on patterns learned through experience. That prediction works well in normal circumstances. However, when something unexpected happens in a predicted location, it can take conscious effort to override the prediction and notice the reality. Visual perception involves active eye movements called saccades. Your eyes are constantly moving, and during the movements, visual input is continuously suppressed through a process called saccadic suppression. Yet you do not perceive the world as a series of frozen frames connected by darkness. Instead, consciousness creates a sense of smooth, continuous vision. The illusion of continuous vision is constructed by the brain. The actual sensory input is more fragmented than the conscious experience suggests. Color perception is constructed by the brain rather than directly detected from the environment. The wavelengths of light reaching the eye are not themselves colored. The colors you experience are generated by the brain based on the wavelength of light. Different people may perceive colors somewhat differently. People with normal color vision typically distinguish millions of color variations. Color blindness in some individuals reflects different photoreceptor sensitivities. Sound perception is also constructed. The physical stimulus is vibrations in the air. The brain interprets these vibrations as meaningful sounds with pitch, loudness, and timbre. Sound localization involves the brain comparing minute differences in arrival time and intensity between the two ears. The brain performs complex calculations based on these differences to determine the direction of a sound source. These calculations occur unconsciously. You simply perceive the direction without conscious calculation. Touch perception involves multiple types of receptors detecting pressure, temperature, and other sensations. The brain integrates these different signals into a unified sense of touch. The sensitivity of touch varies greatly across the body. Fingertips are exquisitely sensitive, while skin on the back is less sensitive. This variation reflects the density of touch receptors and the amount of brain tissue devoted to processing different body areas. The cortical homunculus represents this distorted map of the body. It shows how much brain tissue is devoted to each body area. Pain perception involves both sensory and emotional components. Physical pain has sensory features like location and intensity. Pain also has emotional and motivational features. Pain motivates withdrawal from the pain source. The experience of pain involves complex brain processing of sensory signals combined with context, expectation, and meaning. Phantom pain, which occurs after limb amputation, demonstrates that pain is constructed in the brain rather than purely driven by sensory input from the body. Taste perception involves receptors on the tongue that detect 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. What people call taste is largely flavor, which combines taste with smell. The aromatic compounds from food reach the olfactory receptors in the nose. That information is integrated with taste information to create the experience of flavor. This is why food becomes bland when you have a cold and cannot smell. The taste receptors themselves are still functioning, but flavor perception is diminished without smell. Olfaction or smell is a chemical sense. Volatile molecules from substances reach the olfactory receptors in the nasal cavity. The brain interprets patterns of receptor activation as specific smells. Olfaction has strong connections to emotion and memory. The smell of something can instantly evoke a memory and associated emotional response. This is partly because the olfactory system has direct connections to brain areas involved in emotion and memory. Other sensory systems are processed through the thalamus before reaching higher brain areas, while olfaction has more direct pathways to emotional centers. Vestibular perception involves the sense of balance and spatial orientation. The inner ear contains fluid-filled structures that detect head position and movement. This information is integrated with visual and proprioceptive information to create a sense of balance and orientation in space. Motion sickness occurs when there is a mismatch between vestibular signals and visual signals. Sailors become dizzy when looking at a swaying horizon. The visual signal indicates motion while proprioceptive signals indicate stability on the ship. Proprioception is the sense of body position and movement. Proprioceptive receptors are located in muscles and joints. They continuously send information about body position to the brain. Proprioceptive information combines with visual information to guide movement. When proprioceptive feedback is impaired, movement becomes uncoordinated. A person with proprioceptive loss cannot walk smoothly in darkness because they cannot sense where their feet are without visual feedback. Synesthesia is an interesting phenomenon where stimulation in one sense produces experiences in another sense. In grapheme color synesthesia, letters or numbers evoke color perceptions. In sound color synesthesia, musical notes evoke colors. Synesthesia is not a disorder. Synesthetes function normally. Synesthesia may reflect crosstalk between sensory areas in the brain. This crosstalk is present in everyone to a degree, but it is more pronounced in synesthetes. Studying synesthesia provides insights into how senses are integrated in perception. The brain constructs a unified conscious experience from multiple sensory streams and cognitive processes that are themselves distributed and not unified. This is called the binding problem. Different features of objects, like color, shape, and motion, are processed in different brain areas. Yet you experience unified objects, not collections of disparate features. The brain must somehow bind these distributed processes into a unified experience. The mechanism of binding remains not completely understood. Consciousness is subjective. Your experiences have qualities that seem private and not fully communicable to others. The redness of red, the painfulness of pain, the taste of coffee are subjective experiences called qualia. Qualia are difficult to explain or share with others. Even if someone has experienced the same stimulus, their qualia may be qualitatively different from yours. This subjectivity creates philosophical puzzles about consciousness. How subjective experience arises from objective neural processes remains one of the deepest mysteries in science. Attention can modulate conscious experience. The more attentional resources devoted to something, the more detailed and vivid the conscious experience tends to be. Conversely, divided attention reduces conscious experience of each thing attended to. This is why you do not see details in peripheral vision even though light is reaching your eyes. Without attentional resources, Peripheral information does not reach detailed conscious processing. Time perception is flexible. Time seems to expand when you are excited or anxious. Time seems to contract when you are enjoying yourself. This flexibility suggests that time perception is constructed by the brain based on factors like attention, emotion, and memory. Very fast events sometimes seem to last longer than they actually do. This may reflect the fact that fast events receive extra attentional processing, and temporal duration is inferred from the amount of processing. Consciousness appears to depend on multiple brain areas working together. No single brain area is solely responsible for consciousness. Instead, consciousness seems to emerge from coordinated activity of distributed brain networks. The thalamus appears important in coordinating information from different brain areas. The prefrontal cortex appears important in higher consciousness and self-awareness. Damage to any of several brain areas can impair consciousness without eliminating it entirely. Anesthesia works by disrupting the communication between brain areas necessary for consciousness. Anesthetics do not primarily make pain receptors less sensitive. They interfere with the brain's processing of information. This is why anesthesia removes consciousness even though the sensory receptors continue to function. Local anesthetics block nerve transmission in a specific area. General anesthetics disrupt brain-wide coordinated activity necessary for consciousness. Dreams occur primarily during REM sleep. During REM sleep, the brain shows activity patterns similar to waking consciousness. Yet consciousness is expressed through hallucinations rather than sensory perception. Dreams can be vivid and emotionally engaging, yet most dreams are forgotten upon waking. The reasons for forgetting dreams are not completely clear. It may be related to changes in neurotransmitter systems during REM sleep or to the lack of external cues to reinforce dream memories. Lucid dreaming is a state in which a person becomes aware of dreaming while dreaming. In lucid dreams, people can often exert some control over dream content. Lucid dreams occur when areas of the brain normally involved in self-monitoring and metacognition become active during REM sleep. Lucid dreaming is rare but can be trained with practice. People who frequently lucid dream show different brain activation patterns than those who rarely lucid dream. Sleep deprivation impairs cognitive performance and mood. Even small reductions in sleep, sustained over time, can reduce alertness and performance. Sleep deprivation can increase irritability and anxiety. Chronic sleep deprivation is associated with health problems including obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. However, the brain has remarkable capacity to adapt to some sleep loss. A person adapted to 6 hours per night shows less impairment than someone getting 6 hours for the first time. Still, optimal cognitive performance usually requires around 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Caffeine affects consciousness by blocking adenosine receptors. Adenosine accumulates during waking and promotes sleepiness. Caffeine prevents adenosine from binding to its receptors, thereby reducing the sensation of sleepiness. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 hours. If you consume caffeine at 3 in the afternoon, half of it remains in your system by 8 in the evening. This is why caffeine consumed late in the day can disrupt sleep for some people. Alcohol affects consciousness through multiple mechanisms. Alcohol enhances GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, which dampens neural activity. This explains the sedative effects of alcohol and the reduced inhibitions that occur with intoxication. However, alcohol also disrupts sleep architecture. People may sleep longer after drinking alcohol, but the sleep quality is poor. REM sleep is reduced, and sleep is more fragmented. This is one reason people may feel unrest even after sleeping a long time following alcohol consumption. Hallucinogens like LSD and psilocybin alter consciousness through effects on serotonin systems. These substances cause hallucinations and changes in perception of time and space. Under carefully controlled conditions, hallucinogens have been used in research and therapeutic contexts. Research has shown that psilocybin combined with psychotherapy can reduce depression and anxiety in some individuals. However, hallucinogens also carry risks including acute anxiety, paranoia, and in rare cases, long-term psychological effects. Meditation is a practice that can alter consciousness. Different meditation traditions involve different practices and goals. Some meditation focuses on breath awareness, others on visualization, others on mantra repetition. Regular meditation practice appears to change brain structure and function. Brain imaging studies show that long-term meditators have structural differences in brain areas related to attention and emotional regulation. Meditation can reduce activity in the default mode network, the network active during mind wandering. Flow is a state of consciousness characterized by complete absorption in an activity. In flow, consciousness is focused entirely on the present activity. Time seems to disappear, self-consciousness fades. Flow occurs when task difficulty is matched to skill level. If the task is too difficult, anxiety results. If too easy, boredom results. Flow is most likely when difficulty and skill are both high and balanced. Flow is associated with well-being and is often sought in leisure and work contexts. Hypnosis involves a state of focused attention and reduced peripheral awareness. During hypnosis, suggestions can influence perception and behavior. However, hypnosis does not involve the magic portrayed in popular media. Hypnotized people retain the ability to refuse suggestions that conflict with their values. Hypnosis is not a state of unconsciousness. It is a state of focused attention and relaxation. Hypnosis can be effective for reducing pain and anxiety and for changing some habits, though the mechanisms remain debated. Placebo effects demonstrate the power of expectation to alter consciousness and bodily responses. If people believe they are receiving pain medication, their pain can decrease even if the medication is fake. This is not because people are faking the pain. Brain imaging shows that placebo pain relief activates opioid receptors in the brain. Expectation genuinely changes pain perception through biochemical mechanisms. This shows how mental expectations can influence bodily processes through neural and chemical pathways. Nocebo effects are negative placebo effects. If people expect a side effect, they are more likely to experience it even if the substance does not actually cause it. Expectation can increase pain and discomfort. These effects show that expectation influences conscious experience through real neural mechanisms, not through conscious faking or imagination. Expectations are partly unconscious. You cannot simply decide not to be affected by your expectations. The relationship between the mind and body is intimate. Mental states affect bodily processes including heart rate, blood pressure, immune function, and hormone levels. Stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, increasing heart rate and blood pressure. Meditation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms arousal. Chronic stress can impair immune function and increase susceptibility to illness. Conversely, supportive social relationships and positive emotions can enhance immune function. The mind-body connection illustrates the integrated nature of consciousness and physiology. Psychosomatic symptoms are physical symptoms that are influenced by psychological factors. These symptoms are not imaginary. The physical sensations are real. However, their cause and persistence are partly psychological rather than purely biological. Tension headaches, for example, can be triggered and sustained by stress. Psychosomatic symptoms can improve with psychological treatment even when the triggering cause was psychological. Somatization is the tendency to experience and express distress through bodily complaints. Some people predominantly report physical symptoms in response to stress, while others primarily report emotional symptoms. Cultural differences influence the likelihood of somatization. In some cultures, physical metaphors for emotions are more common, and reporting emotional symptoms may be discouraged. Somatization is a real phenomenon that affects the experience of distress and the type of medical care sought. Mental and physical health are interconnected. Depression is associated with increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Anxiety disorders are associated with increased blood pressure. These associations probably reflect both causal pathways and shared biological processes. Stress hormones like cortisol can directly affect heart health, immune function, and metabolism. Conversely, physical health problems can trigger mental health problems, including depression and anxiety. Treating both mental and physical health comprehensively is important. The placebo effect and nocebo effect demonstrate that consciousness can influence physiological processes. This does not mean that willpower alone can cure disease. However, it demonstrates that the mind matters for health. Expectations, beliefs, and emotional state influence how the brain regulates bodily processes. These influences operate largely through unconscious pathways. You cannot simply decide to lower your heart rate directly, but you can engage in relaxation that allows your heart rate to lower through parasympathetic activation. Consciousness appears to require the brain, but consciousness is not exclusively located in the brain. The nervous system extends throughout the body. The gut contains so many neurons that it is sometimes called the second brain. Enteric nervous system signaling can influence mood and behavior. Gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters and can influence brain function. This gut-brain axis shows that the body and brain are not strictly separate. Mental and physical well-being require attention to both. The concept of consciousness continues to evolve as neuroscience advances. Consciousness is not a single thing but a collection of processes. Awareness, attention, emotion, self-reflection, and the sense of agency all contribute to what people call consciousness. Future research will continue to reveal new aspects of these processes. The mystery of consciousness will likely deepen even as scientific understanding advances. The relationship between objective brain processes and subjective experience remains one of the deepest questions in science. Understanding the subconscious mind requires appreciating both the capabilities and limitations of consciousness. The subconscious handles vast amounts of information and processing that would overwhelm conscious awareness. The subconscious supports efficient behavior, rapid decision-making, and creative problem-solving. Yet consciousness remains irreplaceable for planning, flexible reasoning, moral deliberation, and adapting to novel situations. Both conscious and unconscious processes are essential. The goal is not to expand consciousness to encompass everything, but to understand the interplay between conscious and unconscious processes. Throughout this exploration, the theme has been that much of the mind operates outside awareness. You are shaped by processes you do not consciously track. Your memory is reconstructed rather than replayed. Your perceptions are constructed rather than directly received. Your decisions are influenced by factors you do not consciously consider. Your emotions arise partly from processes you cannot directly observe. This might seem to diminish human agency and consciousness. Instead, it reveals the remarkable complexity of the human mind. The fact that so much can happen unconsciously without your conscious attention shows the remarkable power and efficiency of the mind. This does not mean you are a passive observer of your own life. Consciousness remains powerful. You can reflect on and question your automatic responses. You can develop awareness of unconscious biases and work to change them. You can practice new skills until they become automatic. You can build habits that support your values. You can seek out information and perspectives that challenge your automatic thinking. You can choose to engage in deep thought about important questions. You can prioritize relationships and activities that matter to you. Consciousness empowers choice, even as you recognize that choice is influenced by unconscious processes. The practical value of understanding the subconscious mind lies in recognizing where conscious effort is needed and where it is not. For routine tasks and well-learned skills, conscious effort can actually impair performance. Athletes perform best when they stop thinking and let automatic processes guide movement. Conversely, for novel situations and complex decisions, conscious attention improves performance. Learning to match conscious attention to task demands improves efficiency and well-being. This is wisdom about the mind that can be applied in daily life. Creating an environment that supports good thinking requires understanding how both conscious and unconscious processes work. Reducing distractions supports focused consciousness. Minimizing unnecessary cognitive load preserves working memory. Breaking complex problems into smaller pieces reduces overwhelm. Spacing learning over time improves memory. Sleeping on a problem supports insight. Seeking diverse perspectives challenges unconscious biases. Taking regular breaks prevents mental fatigue. These are practical applications of psychological science. Implementing them in daily life can improve learning, decision-making, and well-being. The future of consciousness research will likely bring new insights into how neural processes generate experience. Technologies like brain imaging and neural recording will continue to advance. Computational models of neural systems will become more sophisticated. International collaboration will accelerate progress. Yet some mysteries of consciousness may prove difficult to solve. The relationship between objective brain processes and subjective experience is called the hard problem of consciousness. Scientific progress on easier problems may or may not eventually illuminate the hard problem. Humility about the limits of scientific understanding is appropriate. In the meantime, the practical understanding available now can enrich life. Recognizing that many processes operate unconsciously can reduce self-judgment. You are not entirely in control, and that is okay. Consciousness does not require constant active management of everything. Trusting automatic processes and knowing when to engage conscious attention supports well-being. Understanding that memory is reconstructive can improve how you approach remembering. Recognizing that perception is constructed can reduce rigid certainty about how things are. Accepting that much of the mind operates unconsciously can paradoxically increase your sense of agency by focusing effort where conscious attention matters most. The subconscious mind is not mysterious or magical. It is not a separate entity from the conscious mind. The subconscious is simply mental processes that occur outside awareness. Understanding these processes reveals not a hidden puppet master, but rather the remarkable architecture of human cognition. You are not being secretly controlled by your subconscious. You are benefiting from efficient automatic processes that free consciousness for higher reasoning and meaningful choice. Consciousness and unconscious processes work together as an integrated system. That integration supports everything you do and think and feel. This journey through the science of the subconscious mind has explored how automatic processes shape perception, memory, learning, and social behavior. The thread throughout has been that consciousness is just the tip of an enormous iceberg of mental processing. The vast majority of your brain's work happens outside awareness. That work supports consciousness and enables behavior. Without unconscious processing, consciousness would be isolated and ineffective. Without consciousness, unconscious processing would lack flexibility and moral guidance. Both are essential. Both are remarkable. Thank you for exploring this topic with an open and curious mind. If you found value in understanding the science of the subconscious mind, please subscribe for more deep dives into psychology, neuroscience, and how the mind shapes experience. May your dreams be peaceful, and may your unconscious mind continue to support your conscious choices and well-being. The exploration of the subconscious mind brings us to consider how this knowledge applies to daily life and personal growth. Understanding that many processes occur outside consciousness does not diminish your agency. Rather, it clarifies where conscious effort is most productive. For developing new habits, awareness of how habits form is invaluable. Habits develop through repetition in consistent contexts. Once a habit is established, it can be triggered by those contexts without conscious decision. This can be used intentionally. If you want to develop a habit of exercise, exercising at the same time and place each day makes the habit automatic more quickly. The context becomes the trigger, and you do not need to rely on willpower each time. Similarly, understanding that much decision-making is influenced by unconscious factors can help you make better decisions. When facing an important decision, taking time to consult your intuition can be valuable. Your intuition may have detected patterns that your conscious reasoning has not yet articulated. However, blind trust in intuition can also lead astray, especially in domains where your experience is limited. The best approach often combines intuitive judgment with careful reasoning. Considering both your gut feelings and logical analysis provides a richer basis for decision-making. Emotional intelligence involves recognizing and managing emotions in yourself and others. Emotions contain information. An emotional reaction is often a rapid judgment before conscious reasoning has occurred. Fear might indicate genuine danger or threat. Anger might signal injustice or violation of boundaries. Sadness might reflect loss and the need for rest or support. Rather than dismissing emotions as irrational, treating them as information to be understood can enhance emotional intelligence. This does not mean following every emotional impulse. It means taking emotions seriously and extracting the information they contain. Creativity often involves unconscious processing. Many creative insights occur after periods of conscious work followed by rest. The relaxation of conscious control during rest can allow for more fluid associations and unexpected connections. Some creative practices deliberately engage the unconscious. Free writing, for example, involves writing continuously without censoring or editing. This bypasses the conscious critic and allows unconscious associations to flow onto the page. Automatic drawing and other artistic techniques similarly engage unconscious processes. Problem solving can be enhanced by understanding how unconscious processing works. When stuck on a problem, shifting your attention elsewhere and allowing incubation time often leads to better solutions. This is not because you are avoiding the problem. Unconscious processing continues. The shift in attention allows your brain to explore alternative approaches without the constraints of conscious focus. This principle is useful in work settings. When people are stuck, stepping away is often more productive than pushing harder. Learning is optimized by spacing practice over time and by varying the conditions in which you practice. Distributed practice with spacing intervals improves retention compared to massed practice. Varying the conditions in which you learn improves transfer to new situations. These principles reflect how memory and learning work at a neurological level. They work with the brain's natural processes rather than against them. Applying these principles in education and training improves learning outcomes. Critical thinking involves questioning assumptions and biases. The first step is recognizing that biases exist. Unconscious biases are part of how all brains function. The second step is creating conditions that reduce biases. Seeking diverse perspectives, considering evidence for and against beliefs, and deliberately imagining alternative explanations all help reduce biased thinking. Training can improve critical thinking, though bias never fully disappears. The goal is not to eliminate bias but to manage it consciously. Relationship quality is influenced by understanding how unconscious processes affect social perception. First impressions are rapid and partly outside conscious control. However, you can be conscious of the first impression and question whether it is accurate. Relationships improve when people consciously choose to see past first impressions and stereotypes. Investment in understanding the other person as an individual rather than a category member improves relationship quality. This requires conscious effort that overrides initial automatic categorizations. Conflict resolution benefits from understanding both conscious and unconscious factors. Conflicts often involve unconscious triggers and associations. A situation might remind someone of a past trauma without conscious awareness of the connection. When people respond strongly to something that seems innocuous, it often reflects activation of unconscious memories or associations. Effective conflict resolution sometimes requires uncovering these unconscious factors. Therapists and mediators often help people recognize unconscious triggers that affect their responses. Parenting involves shaping children's unconscious associations and habits. The environments created, the models provided, and the repeated interactions all shape children's unconscious beliefs and automatic responses. Children learn not only from what they are explicitly taught but from what they observe and experience repeatedly. Providing secure attachment, modeling emotion regulation, and creating consistent structures all support healthy development. These factors work largely through unconscious learning rather than explicit instruction. Aging involves changes in both conscious and unconscious processes. Working memory and processing speed typically decline with age. However, knowledge and semantic memory often remain stable or improve. Older adults sometimes show enhanced emotional regulation because of accumulated experience. Wisdom, the integration of knowledge with understanding of how life works, often increases with age. Staying mentally active supports cognitive health in aging. Engaging in new learning, maintaining relationships, and pursuing meaning appear to support cognitive longevity. Cognitive decline can sometimes be slowed or reversed. Cognitive reserve, the brain's ability to compensate for aging or disease, is built through education, diverse experiences, and cognitive activity. Maintaining cognitive health requires ongoing mental stimulation, physical exercise, good sleep, and social connection. Addressing chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension supports brain health. These factors all reflect how the brain's function depends on the body's health and the environment in which the brain operates. Mental health issues often involve disrupted balance between conscious and unconscious processes. Anxiety can involve unconscious threat detection becoming overactive. Depression can involve unconscious devaluation becoming dominant. Trauma can involve unconscious threat responses remaining activated even when danger has passed. Treatment often aims to help people recognize and modify unconscious patterns. This might involve developing conscious awareness of triggers, using techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy to challenge automatic thoughts, or using somatic approaches to regulate unconscious threat responses in the body. Substance use affects consciousness directly. Alcohol and drugs alter conscious experience by changing brain chemistry. Addiction involves unconscious processes. The brain develops associations between drug use and reward that become automatic. Environmental cues become associated with drug use, triggering unconscious cravings. Treatment for addiction often involves breaking these unconscious associations, building new habits, and addressing underlying emotional issues. Recovery is challenging because it requires overriding strong unconscious associations and building new automatic patterns. Spirituality and meaning-making often involve unconscious processes. Spiritual experiences can feel transcendent and beyond conscious understanding. Yet they are generated by the brain and involve specific neural patterns. Meditative states, for example, involve characteristic changes in brain activity and connectivity. These experiences can be profoundly meaningful and valuable even though they arise from brain processes. The fact that spiritual experiences involve brain activity does not diminish their significance. Understanding the neural basis of spiritual experience can deepen rather than diminish appreciation for it. Purpose and meaning are psychological needs that extend beyond basic survival. People who feel their life has meaning report greater well-being and resilience. Finding meaning can involve contributing to something beyond oneself, pursuing valued goals, or being part of a community. Meaning is often found through conscious deliberation about values and goals. However, meaning can also be discovered through unconscious attractions and callings. Sometimes what pulls you towards certain activities or paths reflects deeper values that you have not yet articulated consciously. Legacy and contribution to the future involve both conscious intentions and unconscious influence. The ways you raise children, treat others, and contribute to your community will have effects long after you are gone. Much of this influence operates unconsciously. The values you model implicitly shape others as much as values you explicitly teach. The kindness or callousness you show becomes part of the social fabric. The knowledge you share becomes part of others' unconscious learning. Your influence extends beyond what you consciously intend. Death anxiety is common and involves both conscious and unconscious processing. Consciously, people can consider different beliefs about what happens after death. Unconsciously, thoughts of death can trigger existential anxiety and meaning-making. Cultures have developed rituals and beliefs to manage death anxiety. Terror management theory describes how much of human behavior is driven by unconscious terror of death and unconscious efforts to achieve immortality through contribution to something beyond oneself. Understanding these dynamics can reduce anxiety and increase meaning. The study of consciousness and unconscious processes ultimately reveals the profound complexity of human experience. You are never simply yourself. You are an intricate interaction between conscious awareness and vast unconscious processing. You are shaped by your history and environment in ways you do not fully recognize. You are influenced by social factors and cultural messages that have become invisible through internalization. Yet you retain the capacity for conscious reflection and choice. Within the constraints of your circumstances and psychology, you can choose how to respond. That capacity for choice, however constrained, is precious. The path forward involves cultivating both conscious awareness and respect for unconscious processes. Develop awareness of your automatic reactions and the triggers that set them off. Notice where your thoughts and feelings come from without judgment. Question assumptions and biases while recognizing they will never fully disappear. Use conscious effort where it matters most, pursuing values, building relationships, solving novel problems, and reflecting on experience. Trust automatic processes in familiar situations where expertise has been built. Create environments that support the behavior you want to become automatic. Sleep, reflect, and allow incubation time for creative problems. Meditation and contemplative practices provide structured ways to cultivate awareness of consciousness itself. Regular practice can reduce mind wandering and increase ability to direct attention. Paradoxically, awareness of unconscious thoughts and feelings often increases the ability to choose response rather than automatic reaction. This is not about controlling the mind, but about creating a space between automatic impulse and response. In that space, choice becomes possible. The regular practice of meditation has been shown to change brain structure and function in ways that support well-being. Psychotherapy provides another avenue for understanding unconscious processes. Through dialogue with a trained therapist, people often gain awareness of patterns they were not conscious of. Therapy can help modify unconscious associations and schemas. Therapeutic approaches range from insight-oriented approaches that aim at understanding unconscious motivations to behavioral approaches that modify automatic responses directly. Regardless of approach, effective therapy often involves both increasing awareness and changing patterns. The process is gradual and requires sustained effort and commitment. Neuroscience research continues to reveal how the brain generates experience. Brain imaging shows what parts of the brain are active during different mental processes. However, activity in a brain area does not directly explain subjective experience. Understanding that your visual cortex is active when you see red does not explain what redness feels like. This gap between neural activity and subjective experience remains a frontier of science. Bridging this gap may require new concepts and approaches. Philosophy and neuroscience together may eventually generate new frameworks for understanding consciousness. Artificial intelligence and machine learning raise new questions about consciousness. Sophisticated computer systems can now recognize patterns, make decisions, and even generate text and images. Yet there is no indication that these systems have conscious experience. This suggests that intelligence and consciousness are different things. A system can be intelligent without being conscious. This raises philosophical questions about what consciousness is and whether machines could ever be conscious. It also raises ethical questions about how to treat systems that approach consciousness without necessarily having it. The future will likely bring new technologies that can image and record brain activity with greater detail. Direct brain-computer interfaces may become more sophisticated. It will become possible to observe and perhaps decode neural activity associated with specific thoughts and experiences. These technologies raise ethical questions about privacy and consent. If we can read thoughts from brain activity, does that violate privacy? How should such technology be regulated? These are important questions that society must grapple with. Individual differences in unconscious processing are substantial. Some people have better pattern recognition, others better memory, others better emotional insight. These differences reflect genetic factors, developmental history, and experience. Understanding your own particular pattern of strengths and weaknesses in unconscious processing can help you work with rather than against your nature. Someone with quick intuition should trust it more often. Someone with strong analytical ability should value careful reasoning. Someone with strong emotional responsiveness should honor that sensitivity. Individual differences are not deficits. They are variations in how minds work. Cultural differences also influence unconscious processing. Different cultures develop different associations, different interpretations of events, and different automatic behaviors. What is considered rude or appropriate varies by culture. What is considered beautiful varies by culture. These differences reflect how unconscious learning picks up cultural norms. When moving between cultures, many things that were automatic become conscious and effortful. Building new unconscious associations to the new culture takes time and repeated exposure. Understanding cultural differences in unconscious processing can reduce ethnocentrism and increase appreciation for diversity. The subconscious mind is ultimately an expression of the remarkable capabilities of the human brain. The brain processes far more information than consciousness can handle. The brain recognizes patterns and solves problems without conscious effort. The brain learns from experience and builds automatic skills. The brain guides behavior through emotions and unconscious associations. The brain is not mysterious in the sense of being beyond understanding. Yet it is genuinely wonderful in its complexity and capability. Appreciating the subconscious mind means appreciating the brain as a physical system that generates the subjective reality of your experience. In closing, The journey through understanding the subconscious mind is ultimately a journey towards self-knowledge. Recognizing the vast unconscious processing that supports your experience increases humility about how much you understand about yourself. It also increases appreciation for the remarkable capabilities you possess without conscious effort. You can perceive, remember, learn, solve problems, and navigate social relationships with capabilities that far exceed what you are conscious of. This is not a reason to be passive. It is a reason to develop wisdom about how to direct your conscious attention where it matters most. As you move forward, carry with you the understanding that consciousness and unconscious processing work together as an integrated system. Neither is superior to the other. Both are necessary and valuable. Consciousness provides reflection, planning, and moral reasoning. Unconscious processing provides efficiency, creativity, and intuition. Working with both, respecting both, and understanding both provides the fullest expression of human capability. May this exploration of the subconscious mind enrich your understanding of yourself and others. May it support more conscious choice while also trusting the vast wisdom of your unconscious mind. May you sleep well tonight, knowing that your mind continues its remarkable work, processing and learning even as consciousness rests. Thank you for this journey through the science of the subconscious mind. Please subscribe for more explorations of how the brain and mind shape your life and experience. Restful. The journey of understanding the subconscious mind continues with deeper exploration of how these principles integrate into a coherent understanding of human psychology. Memory, as we have discussed, is not a recording but a reconstruction. Each time you remember something, you are engaging in an act of creation. The memory trace is modified slightly by this retrieval. Over repeated recalls, memories can shift substantially from their original form. This is not a defect of memory, it is a feature. Flexibility in memory allows for generalization and for integration of new information with existing knowledge. However, it also means that memory is fallible, and eyewitness testimony requires careful evaluation. Eyewitness testimony in legal contexts is particularly vulnerable to modification and bias. Suggestive questioning can alter memories. Details from one event can become incorporated into memories of another event. The confidence with which someone remembers something is not a good predictor of accuracy. Juries often find eyewitness testimony compelling because it is presented with confidence, yet research shows that confidence and accuracy are only weakly related. This has led to recommendations for improving eyewitness procedures in legal contexts, such as double-blind lineups and recording the witness's initial confidence. False confessions occur more often than people realize. Innocent people sometimes confess to crimes they did not commit, often as a result of extended interrogation. The interrogation process can make it easier to imagine committing the crime and can blur the line between imagination and memory. High levels of stress and fatigue impair memory processes and decision-making, making false confessions more likely. Understanding the psychology of false confessions has led to recommendations for recording interrogations and providing legal counsel. These recommendations protect both the innocent and the guilty systems functioning. The integration of the subconscious mind into legal and ethical contexts raises important questions. If many of our behaviors and judgments are influenced by unconscious processes, to what extent are people responsible for their actions? This is a philosophical and legal question as much as a psychological one. Neuroscience shows that behavior depends on neural processes, but this does not erase responsibility. People still have the capacity to reflect, consider, and choose. The factors that influence choice are complex, but choice remains meaningful. Legal systems must grapple with these questions as understanding of neuroscience advances. Neuroscience and psychology offer insights into moral development. Moral judgments are influenced by both conscious reasoning and unconscious emotional responses. Different moral systems emphasize different foundations, such as harm prevention, fairness, loyalty, authority, sanctity, or liberty. People vary in which moral foundations are most important to them. This variation reflects both individual differences and cultural influences. Understanding moral psychology does not provide answers to moral questions, but it illuminates how people come to different moral conclusions. Moral dilemmas reveal the tension between conscious reasoning and unconscious emotional response. The trolley problem asks whether it is acceptable to divert a runaway trolley to kill one person instead of 5. Most people say yes when they are mentally simulating the action abstractly. However, when the scenario is reframed as pushing a person directly off a bridge to stop the trolley, most people say no, even though the outcome is the same. The difference reflects unconscious emotional responses to direct harm versus emotional distance to abstract outcomes. Neither response is clearly correct. They reflect how moral judgment emerges from multiple systems. Conscience is the subjective sense of right and wrong that guides behavior. Conscience involves both conscious moral reasoning and unconscious emotional responses to moral violations. People with damage to certain brain areas that support emotion can make logical moral judgments but show no emotional response to moral violations. They may lack the emotional motivations to follow their own moral reasoning. This shows that conscience requires both intellectual understanding and emotional investment. Healthy moral functioning requires both systems working together. Willpower and self-control are limited resources that deplete with use. After exerting self-control in one domain, people show reduced self-control in other domains. This is sometimes called ego depletion. However, recent research suggests this effect may not be as robust as originally thought. The state of the body matters. Being hungry or fatigued reduces self-control. Motivation matters. If something is sufficiently important, self-control is less likely to deplete. This suggests that self-control is not purely a limited resource but involves engagement of motivation and physiological resources. The environment powerfully influences behavior and well-being. Design choices like where fruit or junk food is placed affect what people eat. The presence or absence of other people influences helping behavior. The aesthetics and organization of a space influence mood and productivity. Understanding how the environment shapes behavior unconsciously can lead to better environmental design. This is sometimes called choice architecture or nudge theory. Creating environments that make healthy or pro-social choices the easy choice improves outcomes without requiring willpower. Social influence operates largely unconsciously. The people around you influence your behavior through their example and expectations. Social norms are absorbed unconsciously and then followed automatically. Even strangers' behavior influences your own. If people around you are moving slowly, you move slowly. If they seem hurried, you hurry. These effects operate without conscious awareness or deliberate choice. Yet you retain the capacity to notice and override these influences. Awareness of social influence can increase independence of thought and action. Technology is increasingly shaping the unconscious mind. Algorithms that recommend content create exposure to information that aligns with existing preferences, potentially reinforcing biases. Social media is designed to be engaging and to encourage use by triggering reward responses. Notifications and notifications sounds create unconscious attention-seeking habits. These technologies are powerful tools that can support well-being or undermine it depending on how they are designed and used. Understanding the psychology underlying technology design is important for using technology more intentionally. Digital media consumption patterns affect attention and memory. Heavy media multitasking is associated with reduced attention span and working memory capacity. However, these effects may be reversible with changes in media use patterns. The brain retains neuroplasticity. Changing behavior can change brain structure and function. Taking breaks from digital devices and engaging in focused attention without digital interruption can restore attention capacity. This is not merely about willpower, it is about reshaping unconscious habits and the environmental triggers that support them. The recommendations for maintaining cognitive health are consistent across research. Physical exercise is among the strongest predictors of cognitive health in aging. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain and supports neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons. Cognitive stimulation through learning keeps the brain engaged. Social engagement provides both cognitive stimulation and emotional support. Sleep is essential for memory consolidation and brain health. Nutrition affects brain function. A healthy diet supports cognition. Managing stress protects the brain from harmful effects of chronic cortisol elevation. These factors all reflect the integrated nature of mind and body. Mental health in the context of the subconscious mind involves awareness and regulation of unconscious processes. Many people struggle with anxiety that feels irrational. Understanding that anxiety often reflects activation of unconscious threat systems can be validating. The threats detected by the unconscious system may not match objective danger. However, the fear is real even if the threat is not as severe as it feels. Treatments that help regulate unconscious threat responses are effective. These include exposure therapy, which builds new unconscious associations between situations and safety, and pharmacological treatments that affect neurotransmitter systems underlying threat responses. Depression involves unconscious devaluation of the future and of positive stimuli. People with depression often show reduced reward sensitivity. Things that normally bring pleasure bring less pleasure. Goals feel less worthwhile. The future seems bleak. These negative views can feel true rather than like depression symptoms. Understanding that these views reflect altered emotional processing can provide some distance from them. Treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy help people think differently about situations. Antidepressant medications can restore emotional responsiveness. Combining psychological and pharmacological approaches is often most effective. Anxiety disorders involve excessive threat detection. The unconscious threat system becomes overactive and detects danger where there is little or no threat. The anxiety that results is real, but the threat is not proportionate to objective danger. Treatments work by reducing threat responses. Exposure to feared situations in safe conditions can reduce threat response through new learning. This new learning involves creating new unconscious associations between situations and safety, which gradually override the learned threat response. Cognitive approaches help people question and reality test threat thoughts. Pharmacological treatments reduce arousal. These approaches work by modifying unconscious threat systems. Trauma involves a specific problem where threat responses remain activated even after the threat has ended. A person who experienced trauma learned that the world is dangerous. Years or decades later, when objectively safe, unconscious threat systems remain on high alert. The person may startle easily, have nightmares, and feel persistently unsafe. Trauma treatment helps turn off these threat responses. Exposure-based treatments slowly reduce the threat associations. Cognitive processing helps integrate trauma memories into a broader life narrative. Somatic approaches help regulate unconscious arousal responses in the body. Effective trauma treatment often requires sustained effort with a trained clinician. Addiction involves powerful unconscious learning. The brain learns to associate certain cues with reward. Over time, these associations become automatic. Environmental cues trigger unconscious craving. The person may be consciously motivated to quit while unconsciously drawn to use. The conscious intention is often not sufficient to overcome the unconscious craving. Effective addiction treatment addresses both the conscious motivation to change and the unconscious associations that trigger use. This might involve cognitive behavioral therapy to change thoughts and behaviors, medication to reduce craving, group support for motivation, and changes to the environment to reduce exposure to triggers. Relapse prevention requires ongoing attention to these unconscious factors. Relationships are shaped by unconscious patterns developed in early attachment relationships. The way you learned to relate to a caregiver becomes a template for later relationships. If you learned that adults could be trusted, you are more likely to trust partners. If you learned that adults were unpredictable or rejecting, you may struggle with trust. These patterns operate largely unconsciously. Partners often choose each other partly for unconscious reasons. People sometimes choose partners who recreate aspects of their family of origin, often without realizing this choice. Therapy can help people recognize and change these unconscious patterns. Parenting is profoundly influenced by unconscious patterns from one's own childhood. How parents were treated often predicts how they treat their own children. However, this is not deterministic. Many people consciously choose to parent differently than they were parented. Awareness of unconscious patterns and intention to change them can be effective. However, change is not easy. Parenting is stressful and often triggers unconscious responses. Learning new parenting approaches, getting support, and managing stress all contribute to conscious parenting. Yet even conscious parents find themselves acting unconsciously in moments of stress. This is normal. What matters is awareness and intention to continually develop as a parent. The passage of time in psychological experience differs from clock time. Subjective time reflects the amount of attention, the degree of novelty, and emotional factors. When you are engaged and time passes quickly, you are often satisfied. When you are bored or waiting and time drags, you are often dissatisfied. Older adults often report that time seems to accelerate. This may reflect that each year is a smaller proportion of their total life. or it may reflect that repetition and familiarity reduce attention. Creating novelty and engagement can help time feel more meaningful regardless of age. The concept of self is constructed by the brain and is more fluid than it often feels. You feel like a unified, continuous self from moment to moment. Yet this unity is constructed. Different aspects of self-awareness activate in different contexts. You are different with your family than with friends, different at work than at home. Different emotional states evoke different aspects of self. In some contexts, you are more reflective. In others, more spontaneous. The feeling of a unified self is a construction that usually works well but is not the fundamental reality. Recognizing the constructed nature of self can increase flexibility and reduce suffering from attachment to a fixed identity. Identity formation is a developmental process. In childhood, identity is largely given by family. In adolescence, people actively explore identity possibilities. In adulthood, identity typically stabilizes. However, identity development is lifelong. Significant life changes, new relationships, and new experiences can all trigger identity development. Some cultures emphasize individual identity, others emphasize collective or relational identity. These cultural differences influence how identity is understood and experienced. Understanding identity as developed and contextual rather than fixed and intrinsic can support flexibility and growth. Meaning-making continues throughout the lifespan. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived concentration camps, emphasized that meaning can be found even in horrific circumstances. His work showed that finding meaning, even when circumstances cannot be changed, supports psychological survival and growth. People actively construct meaning from their experiences. The same experience can have different meanings for different people depending on their perspective and how they interpret it. Therapy often involves helping people find new meanings that are more empowering or healing than the meanings they had initially constructed. The role of language in shaping thought and meaning is significant. Different languages have different words for concepts, different grammatical structures, and different ways of categorizing the world. These linguistic differences shape how speakers of different languages think about the world. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that language shapes thought. However, the relationship is complex. Thought also shapes language. Bilingual people sometimes think differently depending on which language they are using. Learning a new language not only adds words but can also add new ways of thinking. Narrative is a fundamental way humans make sense of experience. People naturally construct stories about their lives that provide coherence and meaning. Life narratives are often revised as new experiences occur and as people gain new perspectives. Traumatic experiences sometimes disrupt narrative coherence. The trauma does not fit into the story the person had constructed about who they are and what the world is like. Therapy often involves helping people integrate traumatic experiences into a revised narrative that includes both the trauma and ongoing capability and meaning. This narrative integration is different from forgetting and different from just adding trauma as an isolated event. It is genuine integration. The future of psychology will likely involve increasing integration of neuroscience with psychological understanding. As brain imaging technology improves, we will have finer-grained understanding of how neural processes correspond to psychological experience. However, understanding neural processes will not eliminate the need for psychological understanding. The subjective experience of depression is not explained by knowing which brain areas show reduced activity. Psychology at the level of meaning, relationships, and conscious experience will remain important. The most complete understanding will integrate neuroscience and psychology. Artificial intelligence and machine learning raise questions about the nature of consciousness and intelligence. Systems that can learn and make decisions might be considered to have some form of intelligence. Yet there is no reason to believe they have conscious experience. Intelligence and consciousness appear to be distinct. A system can have one without the other. These distinctions may help future neuroscience and psychology understand consciousness better. As we study what consciousness is not, we clarify what it might be. As this exploration draws toward a close, the main themes can be summarized. The subconscious mind is not a mysterious entity but rather mental processes that operate outside conscious awareness. These processes are continually shaping perception, memory, learning, and behavior. Understanding these processes does not diminish human agency. Rather, it clarifies the nature of choice. Consciousness remains powerful for reflection, planning, and moral reasoning. Unconscious processes remain essential for efficiency, creativity, and automatic response to routine situations. Both are necessary for full human functioning. Working in harmony with both conscious and unconscious processes supports well-being and effectiveness. Understanding the subconscious mind has practical value for living a more intentional and fulfilling life. As you encounter challenges and opportunities, remembering that many factors influencing your responses operate unconsciously can support compassion for yourself and others. You are not failing when unconscious biases affect your judgment. You are revealing the normal operation of human cognition. Awareness creates opportunity for choice. When you notice an automatic reaction, you can pause and consider whether that reaction aligns with your values. This does not mean overriding every impulse, but it means creating space between impulse and response where conscious choice becomes possible. Building awareness of your own unconscious patterns is valuable. Notice what repeatedly triggers you. Notice your automatic responses in different contexts. Notice how your mood and attention fluctuate. These observations are not criticism, they are information. Understanding your patterns creates possibility for working with them intentionally. If you know that you become short-tempered when hungry, you can plan to eat before important conversations. If you know that you become anxious in large groups, you can plan for downtime afterward. If you know that you procrastinate on certain tasks, you can structure your environment to make those tasks easier. Working with your patterns rather than against them is more effective and less exhausting. Building new habits and changing old ones requires understanding how habits form. Habits consist of a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue triggers the routine, which produces a reward that reinforces the association. To change a habit, you can keep the cue and the reward the same but change the routine. Or you can remove or change the cue. Or you can find alternative rewards. Understanding habit structure helps you work with it effectively. Most behavior change fails because people rely solely on willpower without addressing the underlying habit structure. Sustainable change requires reshaping the habit loop. Physical health supports psychological health and the functioning of both conscious and unconscious processes. Sleep is not optional if you want your brain to function well. Regular exercise is among the strongest protections for brain health. Nutrition directly affects brain chemistry and function. Stress management protects the brain from the harmful effects of chronic stress. These basic health factors directly affect both consciousness and unconscious processing. Attending to physical health is not vanity or hedonism. It is essential maintenance of the biological system that generates your thoughts and feelings. Social connection is essential for psychological well-being. Humans are inherently social. Connection is not optional. Loneliness and social isolation are associated with reduced physical and mental health. Conversely, social support is one of the strongest predictors of resilience and well-being. The quality of relationships matters more than the quantity. A few deep connections are more valuable than many superficial connections. Social connection activates unconscious processes that support well-being. You do not have to consciously think about the benefits. Being around people you care about and who care about you directly improves your well-being through unconscious mechanisms. Learning continues throughout life. The brain retains neuroplasticity. New learning creates new neural connections. Learning something new not only adds knowledge but also keeps the brain engaged and supports cognitive health. Learning does not have to be formal education. Learning happens through reading, hobbies, conversations, and new experiences. The process of learning is itself beneficial, independent of whether you ever need to use what you learned. Engaging your brain through learning supports well-being and resilience. Reflection and contemplation supports psychological growth. Taking time to think about your experiences helps you extract meaning and learn from them. Reflection does not require sitting in silence. It can happen while walking, during conversation, or through writing. Journaling is a powerful reflective practice because the process of writing itself engages different neural processes than just thinking. Reflecting on your values, your relationships, your choices, and your experiences helps you live more intentionally. This reflection involves conscious processes that may integrate unconscious material into conscious understanding. Creativity is available to everyone, not just artists and writers. Creative thinking involves generating new ideas and making novel connections. You do not have to create art to benefit from engaging your creativity. Problem solving involves creativity. Approaching daily challenges with creative thinking is more interesting and often more effective than rote responses. Creativity can be developed through practice. Engaging in activities that encourage creative thinking, allowing time for incubation, and deliberately trying new approaches all support development of creative capability. Spirituality, whether religious or secular, supports meaning-making and well-being for many people. Spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, time in nature, or artistic expression connect people to something larger than themselves. This connection appears to support well-being through multiple pathways, including reduced anxiety, increased meaning, and social connection. Understanding that spiritual experiences involve brain processes does not diminish their value. The fact that music is sound waves does not diminish the beauty of music. The fact that spiritual experiences involve brain activity does not diminish their significance. For many people, spirituality is essential to well-being and meaning. The exploration of consciousness and the subconscious mind ultimately leads back to self-knowledge and self-compassion. You are a complex system of conscious awareness and unconscious processes, biological drives and learned associations, individual traits, and cultural influences. You are not simple, and you cannot be fully understood through simple explanations. Yet you can develop increasing awareness of how you work. This awareness, combined with compassion for your own complexity, supports growth and well-being. You are doing the best you can with the information available to you, the skills you have developed, and the circumstances you are in. Recognizing this can reduce harsh self-judgment and increase motivation for genuine change. As this exploration of the subconscious mind comes to a close, the essential insight is that human experience emerges from the interaction of countless conscious and unconscious processes. Your perceptions are constructed, your memories are reconstructed, your decisions are influenced by factors you do not consciously recognize, and your behavior is shaped by habit and context as much as by conscious intention. Yet within all this complexity, consciousness remains. Your awareness, your reasoning, your capacity for reflection and choice all remain. The complexity of the mind is not a reason to abandon agency. It is a reason to understand agency more deeply. You are not the simple conscious agent you might have imagined. You are far more complex, far more capable, and far more wonderful than the simple image of a conscious mind consciously controlling a passive body. Understanding this fuller picture of yourself and human nature is the gift of studying the subconscious mind. Thank you for this extended journey through the science of the subconscious mind. The exploration has moved from basic principles of non-conscious processing through memory and learning, through social psychology and emotion, through applications to daily life and well-being, to deeper understanding of the integration of conscious and unconscious processes in human life. The subconscious mind shapes everything you are and do, and understanding it shapes how you understand yourself. Please subscribe if you have found value in this exploration. May you continue to develop awareness of your own mind and compassion for your own complexity. May you use your understanding of both conscious and unconscious processes to live more intentionally and meaningfully. Sleep well knowing that even as you rest, your remarkable brain continues its work, processing experience and preparing for tomorrow. Thank you for your attention and openness to exploring the hidden dimensions of your own mind.